Welcome to Uganda Catholic Television, Good News for All. And in our Responsible Citizenship series, now this is our second week. Last week, we talked about knowing your faith, living it, and your faith changing you, so that when you appear in society, they say, yes, here is an ambassador of God. Here is a witness. And we talked about the value of prayer, how prayer is transformative. Prayer is transforming. So this week, we come with yet another very important aspect in our life, and that is the aspect of obedience. Obedience. Obedience is very key in our lives. That aspect of obedience is what makes us be what we are. Our faith demands that we practice obedience. Just learning from Jesus himself. Jesus was God. But because of our salvation, he came down and was born of an earthly woman. Being born of an earthly woman. Not only that, being born in a manger. Being born in, the cattle, in rubbish. Jesus was God, remember it. But he obeyed his Father to a level that he came to be like one of us. So being like one of whoever we meet in life, we can only do that by obedience. Being in the shoes, as we say these days, being in the shoes of someone, understanding a person before you demands that you are obedient. You are humble. Humility goes hand in hand with obedience. We have to practice obedience. In one of the epistles, in one of the letters, they say, Jesus did not cling to his equality with God. He did not cling to it. He learned to obey. And this is our master par excellence. It's our master whom we look at wherever we are in the world out there. We look at him. So, look at how he's baptized. He has no sin, but he is baptized. Obedience. Look at when the parents come to look for him when he got lost somewhere in Jerusalem. Obedience. He went back with his father and with his mother. Obedience. Look at his early life. Look at the people he associated with. Fishermen. I don't know whether many of you have been down there at the lake to see how the fishermen look like. These are not professors. These are not members of parliament. Jesus associates with fishermen. And this is what he wants us to be when we are out there. I liked Pope Francis telling the bishop, smell your sheep. Smell your sheep. Obedience is key in our lives and in whatever we do. Look at the message Jesus comes with. Look at the way he's dying on the cross. Like a criminal. Obedience to the will of the Father. Look at the people he appears to after his resurrection. You know, he didn't appear in palaces and so on. You know, the virtue of obedience in our lives is key, and obedience which makes us humble people. I've met very many proud people in life, and some of them are Catholics. I look at you and say, now, is this the teaching of Christ? Did this person go for Mass, and after Mass the priest tells him, go, be witnesses there? So this is a flag bearer. The issue of obedience which makes us humble. After everything, you say, I've been a humble steward of what God gave me. The more gifts that you have, the more humble you should become. The more authority that you have, the more humble you should become. This is our approach to society. The issue of humility, the issue of obedience. These are key in whatever we do as Catholics. It's key, because that is when others will look at us and give glory to God, because of the service that we do in humility. The Catholic faith is a faith of obedience. There's no doubt about this. Right from creation. You remember when God says, let there be, let there be, and something automatically happens. No confusion. Our faith is a faith of obedience. And you remember in the Old Testament, our forefathers who disobeyed God got some punishment. Our forefathers who listened to God in obedience got blessings. Look at Adam in the Garden of Eden. He chooses to disobey, and immediately punishment is put on him and on his wife Eve. Look at the sons of Israel as they are moving through the wilderness to the promised land. Whenever they would obey God, they would receive God's blessings. And when they would disobey God, they would be punished. Obedience made them conquer wars. You know, the wars with the Amalekites, the wars with the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, those, you just read the Old Testament. In obedience, they would win wars. But the moment they would disobey, they would be punished. So, as we live in society, we have to have a high level of obedience. Obedience does not mean that someone is powerless. No, rather it means respect. One time, I'll give you a very short story. One time, I came from Malawi. And here, I came straight to my home in Hoima. And it was the month of November. I had spent some 2 weeks in Malawi for a conference. But I found my wife had prepared very nice grasshoppers. And I like them. You know, the month of November is a month of grasshoppers. You know, I jumped out of the car when I felt the smell of the grasshoppers. I immediately attacked the grasshoppers. I was almost putting one in my mouth like this. Then my daughter says, my daughter held me by the hand and says, Daddy, you have not washed your hands. I remembered surely I had not washed my hands. My daughter by then was 6 years old. I carried my daughter, I went to the sink, I washed my hands, I washed her hands, we came and started eating grasshoppers. That is obedience. Obedience, even when you are obeying your daughter, your very own daughter who is much younger than you. Because what she's saying is true. Daddy, you have not washed your hands. So you should not eat before washing your hands. Obedience. Obedience does not mean that you are powerless. Obedience means you are respecting the other. You are humble before the other. And it is what will make us win the world when we are obedient. Obedience is not necessarily hierarchical. It is vertical also. Husbands, do you obey your wives? Wives, do you obey your husbands? Children, do you obey your parents? Please inculcate among yourselves, inculcate in yourselves the virtue of obedience. You will see our families will be families that are worthy of being called Catholic families, because we are humble before each other. We are respecting each other in obedience. Obedience can go downwards also to your children. Listen to your children. Listen to their wisdom at that level. And, you know, when you listen to your children and do their will, it doesn't mean that you lose your position of being a father. It doesn't mean that father will always talk and children will always listen. That mother is to talk alone and then the children say amen at the end of the mother's talk. No. Listen to your children. This is the sign of obedience coming downwards. A mother listening to children. Children talking to their parents, you know, in obedience. I've had, you know, in some parishes, you know, there's conflict between the parish priest and conflict between the chairman parish council. The parish council is against, you know, this priest. Please, obedience. You can solve your problems in obedience, in respect to each other. I am telling you, there is no social problem that cannot be solved by dialogue. But dialogue demands obedience. In a dialogue, there is talking, and in dialogue, there is listening. In a dialogue, there is a give and take. In a dialogue, sometimes you lose in order to create peace. In dialogue, sometimes you gain in order to create peace. So there's nothing we cannot solve by dialogue. At all levels, be it family, be it, you know, in society, there's nothing we cannot solve through dialogue. So whenever you see some conflicts taking place out there, the first thing you see, has there been a sign of obedience in this situation? If it is not, then someone has to accept to lose in order to build peace. Someone has to accept to gain in order to build peace. So that dialogue, a successful dialogue, is a dialogue in obedience. So for you in your parishes there should always be a person to bring about peace in any situation that happens. But you have to be humble first. For us, we are a church of obedience. What has the bishop said? What has the parish priest said? For me, it doesn't take away my dignity to call my parish priest, Father, there is something happening here. What can I do? You know that question of what can I do? Then the parish priest advises you as chairman of parish council. Then you take the right decision. You take a collective decision. So the issue of obedience is very key in whatever we do as Catholics, wherever we are, and whatever the case may be, we have to be obedient. You know, our church has got a very strong structure. A very strong structure, right from the Holy Father and up to the catechist down. It is a church of obedience. Obedience does not mean blind obedience, no. We question a few things here and there, but we question them in order to build, not in order to destroy. You know? So the question of obedience is key in the life of our church and in our own life. As we already said, obedience and respect go together. You cannot separate them. When you are obedient, you are a respectful person. As now we are about to go for our commercial break, I would like to remind all of you who are watching this television, wherever you are, practice the virtue of obedience. In true honesty, in the true respect. You know, let's respect one another. Let's consult. You know, obedience involves consulting. You know, even I am a husband at home. Doesn't mean I know everything. I call my wife and say, Mommy, can I continue doing this? How do you like that I do this? You know, that advice that I get from my wife, if I take it well and in good faith, very many things are going to change in the best way. Those who are watching Uganda Catholic Television, I would like to request you to practice the virtue of obedience. This is what makes us, and this is what breaks us if we do not practice obedience. Wherever we are, in whatever we are doing, in every situation, let us have this virtue of obedience. Thank you for watching Uganda Catholic Television. Good news for all. We shall be right back in this program. Keep watching.
UCTV, Good news for all.
Welcome back from that commercial break. You who are watching the Catholic television, Uganda Catholic television, Good News for All. We were talking about obedience as a key element in our lives, as a key element in our service. When we are serving society, we have to serve them. We have to serve our people with humility and in obedience. Now, this virtue of obedience also brings in another issue, and that is working for a common good. Because in the world where we find ourselves, we are not alone. How I wish I can be alone in my own village, in my own sub-county, in my own district, just being there alone. Unfortunately, God did not wish us that way. We are in the world with very many others. We are different. We are differently gifted. We are differently made. But all in this, we have to work for the common good. We have to put all our gifts at the service of each other. When we are approaching working for a common good, we have to understand the levels of responsibility. Because once we get the levels of responsibility, it will be easier for us to be responsible to each other to work for the common good. The first level of responsibility is personal. You as a person, you have responsibility to make sure that you keep alive. You have a responsibility to ensure that you appear in public worthy to be in public. You have a responsibility, as a person to have yourself protected. You have a responsibility at your personal level. Sometimes I see people and I say, but do these people understand that they have a personal responsibility? For example, I go to the villages and at 9 in the morning, somebody's already drunk. Off, completely off. At 9 in the morning. Then I ask myself, how much has he made? How much money has he made that he has taken off to drink at 9? And most likely he started by drinking alcohol before making any money. Then that one doesn't understand the level of responsibility that he has to be responsible for himself. And without understanding this, there's no way you can work for the common good. If, for example, a drunkard in the morning at 9, if we take him to clean the well down, he will be the first one to fall there. Possibly we shall cause an accident. So the personal level of responsibility is very important for the working for the common good. The second level is we come from families. That is another level of responsibility. I always tell people that apart from you looking at Dr. Aliba, I am a husband to a wife, and I am a father to children. Those are levels of responsibility I cannot avoid. Yes, I am the National Executive Secretary of Justice and Peace. I am also the chairman of Uganda Microfinance Support Center. Yes, these responsibilities I have. But I have to remember that I am a husband to a wife. and I am a father to children. So I have that level of responsibility at the family level. And I have to understand it, that this employee that is before me, if she's a lady, she may be a wife to a husband and a mother to children. So as we approach working for a common good, we have to understand all those. That one time I may see her coming in late, but when she comes late, I have to understand why. Possibly she has been taking her children back to school, and while coming back, she entered into traffic. So those things, as we work for the common good, I have to understand them. I have really to understand them. Then there is a level of the place of work. At the place of work, this is, at least a family is more of a homogeneous community. We are people of the same blood almost. Now, when we come at the level of work, now, we get different people. So the way we approach working for a common good at the place of work is different from the family level. Because here at the place of work, I may not even talk my local language, because there will not be many people to understand my local language. So we may have to use English this time when I'm at the place of work, so that we all understand each other. So that level of place of work, we have a responsibility there. Again, in the evening, I will not be at the place of work. In the evening, I may be at the place of leisure, where I will be with my friends. But I have a responsibility there also to work for the common good. For example, as I am there, I take my personal responsibility, I take my family responsibility, and I take my place of work responsibility. Because if I'm in the place of leisure, and I go beyond, for example, we are at the place of leisure, and I stay there up to midnight. Now that affects the other places where it affects the family. For example, you disorganize the family. When you come, there should be somebody to open the gate for you. That person has not been at the place of leisure where you have been. You are interrupting his or her beautiful sleep. Then when you enter, some of you would like to eat. Possibly the food by that time is cold. Somebody may have to wake up to warm the food for you. But he's waking up, he has not been enjoying where you have been enjoying. You see, working for the common good, we have to put all that in this, we have to consider them so that we know my responsibility somewhere should not affect negatively the other person. So if I am a responsible person, if I am the one working for a common good, if I go to the place of leisure, I may have to excuse myself and say, by 9, I have to leave. Why? I am a father to children, I'm a husband to a wife, and also tomorrow I have to go at my workplace. I must look through the files that I'm going to handle tomorrow. What is that work that I'm starting on tomorrow, and what is the work that I'm ending with tomorrow? This is working for the common good. When we are considering others, we must always be in consideration of other people. That is working for the common good. Some of us, we identify ourselves culturally. We have our cultural identities. So apart from, being a husband to a wife, but I'm also, I'm a Bunyoro. I belong to the Bunyoro. So I have some responsibilities there culturally. Many of you may be knowing that I've been the Prime Minister of Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom. That's a level of responsibility where I have to work. Wherever I go, I have to keep protecting that dignity of Bunyoro Kitara Kingdom. Because I have a responsibility there. I don't protect myself as an individual, but imagine tomorrow you wake up and you find in the newspaper, the Katikiro of Bunyoro has done this and this, which is negative. You know, the whole of Bunyoro freezes because of one person who is called the former Katikiro of Bunyoro. So I have a responsibility to protect that dignity also. So I have to keep remembering that I am a husband to a wife. I work somewhere. I am a prime minister of Bunyoro. I have to keep remembering that as I work for the common good. For many of us have religious affiliations. Some of you are Muslims, some of you are Anglicans, some of you are saved, some of us are Catholics. We belong to an affiliation somewhere. But in society, we have to work together. For example, if in the village we have to clean a well for clean water in the village, the well is not baptized, neither is it circumcised. The well belongs to all of us. Either baptized or not, that is our source of water. That is the common good. So we all move together. Then after that, on Sunday, we can separate. And on Friday, we separate. Saturday, the 7th day, we'll go to the church. But on Tuesday, if we are working to clean the well, we all clean our well. So that is the religious affiliations. We approach society in our religious affiliation. For Catholics, don't get ashamed. If you are asked in society to say a prayer, begin like the way we do in the Catholic Church. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. This is what we were taught. That whatever we do, we begin in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. And other people who are around never get offended. Because this is the way I am told to begin the prayer. This is my faith. The Muslims, the same. I hear you are beginning your prayer, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Then I know the Muslim, we are now praying to Allah, you know. So let's approach the society in whichever culture, in whichever religion we have. Let these refine us in order to be good in society. We should be refined by our religions. We should be refined by our culture so that we approach society when we are well refined. And you will see that our society will be the best place for us to be. But apart from all those, we are citizens of Uganda. We are meant to be Ugandans. When I go out of the country, for example, I'm in India, I can't say, I am a Bunyoro. Do they even know Bunyoro? I say I'm a Ugandan, and then they begin locating for the country Uganda. So when I am in India, I have to defend my country. You know, there are people in Uganda who will try as much as possible to prove to you how bad Uganda is. But this is your country. This is your mother country. A mother country. You know, when you destroy the name of your mother, you destroy yourself. This one, get it from me. So our mother country, Uganda, we cannot manage to destroy our country. This is our mother. This is where we are supposed to live as citizens of this country. And then apart from being a citizen of Uganda, I have also to serve humanity. I cannot be polarized only in one country. No, I have to serve humanity. For 6 months, I was teaching children whom even I didn't know from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. I was teaching them. Some are white, some are Indian, some are... But I'm a member of humanity. So these boundaries cannot hold me. I'm far above these boundaries of culture. I'm far above. So we have to keep thinking, when we are approaching the common good, we have to think of these levels of responsibility. Working for a common good entails concern for others, both past, present, and the future. You have to have a concern. I see some of you praying for your dead mothers and fathers and so on. That is good. You are concerned about the past because of the good they did for you. This is a common good that you are doing. Some of you, I see building cemeteries, renovating graves of the dead people. Very good. That is a common good. You are concerned about your past. We also need to be concerned about the present. Those who are here now. Let's be concerned for each other, for the well-being of the other. On earth, how can somebody get an axe and cuts the face of another, and you get your gun and you shoot, you rob? Concern for each other, irrespective of who you are. Actually, for us, we want Ugandans to multiply. For you, you want to reduce them. Concern for others. Then you have also a concern for the future. We don't live in the world as if we inherited it from our grandparents. No, we live in the world as if we borrowed it from the future generation. So we have to prepare the future. If my mother did not go high in education, I should go higher than my mother and my father. Then if I have gone to a certain level, my children should go higher. That is a concern for the future. When we are dealing with the environment, we have to protect our environment for the good of the future. For the good we have to take good custody of it. This earth does not belong to us. It belongs to the future. We have a space, we are occupying, and we are living it. So let's make it as clean as possible so that the future generation will know, we had responsible citizens who lived on this earth. The issue of sharing. Share the goods that we have with others. Be charitable. Have an option for the poor and the vulnerable. If you see an old woman and is not able to do because the energies have gone, assist that one. And because there are very many benefits of working for a common good. You feel yourself, you are satisfied when you help the other. You feel so good. Even development is faster, when we work together, when we cooperate and work together for a common good. We live in a good, clean environment. When we all cooperate, each one takes, the other. So working for the common good is very key. All of you who are watching the Catholic television, good news for all. I would like to end here by appealing to all of you. Let us have a concern for each other. Let us work for the common good. Let us love one another. Let us love our country. And our country is a very blessed country. And we are able to take it much higher than it is now. Till we meet next week with yet another topic, keep watching Uganda Catholic Television. Good news for all.